Hey y'all, so we making this video for educational purposes only, specifically for the gentlemen in my comments who want to argue back and forth with me and tell me about my family history. I posted a picture of my great-grandmother, Jacolia Burnett, and shared a little about her family history, our family history of her being a Choctaw Native American. And he began to tell me that I'm a Black American and that the freedmen, who are descendants of Choctaw, the civilized five, from the transatlantic slave trade, because they were enslaved by the Choctaw, he telling me that that's who I am and that my people in court fighting today. And I just want to tell you, sir, that biblically speaking, you're not supposed to call nobody a fool. I just want to let you know that when you begin to try to tell somebody who they are and from whence they came, I think you need to go get some medication for that. So let's talk about dates and times. Now, in the 1830s through 1840s, which is when my Burnett ancestors were in Choctaw land, in Mississippi, in Columbus, I have my grandfather's, my great-grandfather, I have his land deeds. I have the coordinates, actually. So when I go to Mississippi, I can go to the land and step foot on the land in Choctaw territory that belonged to Anthony Burnett. I can print out the court document that was given to him by the U.S. government. And they probably paid him around $6,000 because that was the going price for the land then. And he was part of the Choctaw Native Americans that decided to stay in Mississippi and deal with the racism. Other Choctaws and Chickasaw, they were on the Trail of Tears. And we've been taught that the Trail of Tears was simply about the Choctaws and the Chickasaws not wanting to emancipate their slaves. And y'all, the Trail of Tears was literally about the Native Americans being forced to give up their land by the U.S. government in the early to mid 1830s to 40s. So when we began to look at this time period, you have the Tubies, who would give you my Willis Choctaw ancestor. These are the chiefs. They allowed some white people to come in to observe them. And I believe these white people were probably Sephardic Jews and Moors, but I had to continue to study. Because these white people used how the Tubi Choctaw Native Americans had their house set up. And they had it set up like the Congress and the Senate, which is where you get your 13 colonies, which will go back into the 13 tribes of your Sephardic Jews and Moors. And this is how they built up the constitutions, because the Choctaw and the Chickasaw had their own constitution. And they actually came together to make their own constitution in the 1830s when the Chickasaw were being removed from their land, pushed into Arkansas and Kentucky. It was happening at the same time to the Choctaw. So when you look at the 7,000 Choctaw that decided to stay in Mississippi during this time, they were met with unpleasant conditions, but they were also tricked out of their nationality, quote unquote. So what began to happen was the Chickasaw and the Choctaw and the Creek and the Samoan, so on and so forth, who allowed themselves to be kicked out of New Orleans, Louisiana, Mississippi, they ended up being pushed into like Oklahoma, Kentucky, those areas. And even after they went into those areas, they ended up taking a boat into Alabama and to Louisiana because they were being dispersed and pushed out of their homeland. We also have to know that during this time, these Native Americans were being sold into slavery in that triangle to the Caribbeans and into Great Britain, into England. In fact, my great-grandfather, Henry Willis, who was a Choctaw, he was a chief, Manchu Tubi. I gotta put it on there. It's on one of the other videos, but he's a chief. He actually ended up coming over from England. See, there's a lot of holes in history. So when you begin to look at my Burnett ancestors, they were being interviewed by the court, and it was probably Peter Lynching was probably one of the ones interviewing them. And they had people testifying on their behalf saying, oh, yeah, they an Indian. Their daddy's a full-blood Indian. On the Burnett side, I'm going to be completely transparent. I only saw one person way back, father being called an African. And he didn't have a name. And I think this was going back to like the 1500s, 1600s. And this was on the Burnett side. That's the only time I saw an African in my family paperwork. Although I know, where we immigrated from and things like that. But when it came to the Burnett side, everybody was listed as a Choctaw. All the way up until the point where in the 1840s, as I was stating, when they broke down everything into the two sides, y'all, the 7,000 Choctaw Native Americans that decided to stay in Mississippi, they no longer allowed them to classify as Choctaw. And they reclassified them to Negro. You can find this on Choctaw Nation, I think, .com.org. It's a lot of articles out there. And so this is how the reclassification from Choctaw Native American, from Chickasaw Native American to African American happened. It's not just people that were descendants of slaves from Africa who mixed with Choctaw Native Americans. You have those of us who were already here, who were born and bred as Choctaw Native Americans. So when I came across all of this paperwork about a year or so ago, I reached out to the Choctaw Nation in Mississippi that was only formulated in 1940. Y'all, the man is a Mongoloid, and he has the last name Willis. Same as my late mother. Same as my Choctaw Native American to-be ancestors. And I'm sending him like everything. And he told me, he was like, if they were not here, if they weren't in Mississippi anymore after 1940, they won't be recognized anymore. Even though 100 years prior, my people were there. And they weren't Choctaw slaves. They weren't African slaves. So when I say that they were freed man and freed woman, I'm not talking about the people who came over. We have to stop, also letting them give us history, because a lot of the free men and free women are full-blood Choctaw Native Americans. And they got you thinking that just because you were African American, that you didn't get over here to the 1600s, when majority of us were not only over here as Native Americans, majority of us was already over here, coming over from Europe. You were the Moors in Europe. Free mulattoes, free Negroes coming over from England in the 1850s into South Carolina. My people did. The holiday side. So, Mr. Sir, I have paperwork. I have proof. Now, those freed men and those freed women, they deserve their rights. I deserve my ancestors' land. I deserve my ancestors' reservation. We decided not to leave during the Trail of Tears. We decided to stay in Mississippi. And if the Burnetts had not stayed in Mississippi, my great-grandmother Jacoya, her people wouldn't have been there to meet my grandpa Holiday, because they came over as free mulattoes and free Negroes from Europe in the 1850s as Quakers, who are Sephardic Jews, and their mission is to convert the Jews in the diaspora. They were Freemasons. So if they hadn't came over and if those Choctaws hadn't stayed, I wouldn't be here. So I'm thankful that my Choctaw Native American ancestors decided to stay in Mississippi. I'm thankful to know that on my mama's side, we had some chiefs. On my daddy's side, we had a whole bunch of land. And no wonder my mama was born in a house in Mississippi. This is my history. I'm a West Indian, Melungeon, and proud. Bye.